Welcome to week 2. This is going to be a challenging week, fair warning. Chapter 3 deals with federalism. In my experience, students struggle to understand how federalism works. Part of that is because while federalism is relatively easy to understand in theory, the practice of federalism is much more complex. And the reason for that is that who has power is often subject to negotiation, and every time a negotiation creates a different result, we get a potentially different interpretation of federalism. This means that there are very distinctive periods where the fundamental nature of federalism has changed in some important respect. To illustrate, industrialization at the turn of the 19th century fundamentally altered the nature of the American economy in ways that made it virtually impossible for states to individually regulate economic activity. Many of the main drivers of industrialization, banking, mining, the railroads, existed across state boundaries, and the state governments themselves were vulnerable to capture by the powerful interests in their state. As a result, the federal government over time has been compelled to intervene more and more, and of late less and less, in order to protect consumers and workers. The other assignment this week is the supplemental publication by my colleagues Carolyn Taylor and Steve Housel on state and local government. This is another fairly complicated subject because there are an innumerable variety of governments, particularly at the local level. Nevertheless, a lot of the actual governing in American government actually happens on the state and local level. And the subject actually pairs well with federalism because a lot of the governing process involves interactions between institutions at the national, state, and local levels. We call this intergovernmental relations. If you think about what the Department of Homeland Security does to protect the nation against the threat of terrorism, there's a lot of coordination required at multiple levels of government. Another important issue that you should think about is how state and local governments fund themselves. At the state level, it's done through a combination of taxes, primarily income taxes, property taxes, sales taxes, taxes on fee or taxes on services, and typically in some mix. This is what we call a state's fiscal regime. Most states use a combination of those 5 revenue sources, and if you think about states like Texas and Tennessee, that they don't tax income or earned income. But what does that mean? It means that their property taxes and sales taxes are significantly higher. And that typically means that low-income people who own property won't own it for long because they won't be able to afford the taxes. Do you know who benefits from that kind of tax regime? Real estate developers. I'll have a bit more to say about Oklahoma's tax regime for the forum overview. In terms of assignments, there is the forum, there is the quiz, and then there is the Unit 1 examination, which covers chapters 1 through 3, and the supplement. Okay, all those assignments are due by midnight, Sunday, June 16th. Let's make sure we get everything done on time. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me by phone, email, or just drop by my office. And remember that the forum is always a good place to ask questions. Let's have a great week.